The storm howled across the empty desert as lightning split the night sky. Bright flashes revealing the jagged rocks and endless dunes. But deep under the sand, hidden for centuries, something ancient stirred. The earth shook with each strike of thunder, and a faint metallic echo answered back, as if the ground itself was alive. A convoy of trucks moved slowly under the storm, their headlights dim in the thick rain. Soldiers guarded the lead vehicle while scientists sat in the back, staring at a strange signal flashing across their monitors. The signal pulsed like a heartbeat, strong, steady, unnatural. It came from below the desert floor. Dr. Elias Ward, the lead scientist, leaned forward, his eyes wide. "This is no natural formation," he said, his voice sharp against the roar of thunder. "It's structured metal, deep, layered, and massive." The soldiers exchanged looks, uneasy, but their commander, Captain Morgan, gave the order to move forward. The truck stopped at a marked location, and heavy drilling machines were brought. In the sand was torn apart as claws dug deep, revealing fragments of something smooth, cold, and alien, unlike stone. This surface gleamed even under the muddy floodlight, a dark metal that had not rusted in all the years it lay buried. When the storm finally calmed, the crew stood before a wall of black steel stretching far into the ground. They had uncovered only a piece, but it was enough to reveal the truth. It was a starship, colossal and ancient, forgotten under Earth's skin. Captain Morgan walked closer, touching the metal with his gloved hand. "If this is what it looks like, then we found something no one else has," he muttered. Dr. Ward's face was pale. "This ship was not made by human hands," he whispered. "It's alien, and it's waiting." The soldiers cut open an entrance using torches, sparks flying across the night. When the hatch fell inward, a hiss escaped, not air but something stranger, like a sigh of relief from a dying beast. The corridor beyond was dark, its walls lined with symbols that pulsed faintly with blue light. The air smelled stale but breathable. The team entered carefully, their boots echoing across the hollow halls. The silence was crushing, as though the ship had been asleep for centuries. Yet the glow of symbols on the walls showed it was not entirely dead. Dr. Ward pressed his hand to one of the glowing lines. It flickered, then stretched further down the corridor, like veins carrying blood. The ship was responding to them. "Broken doesn't mean dead," he whispered, his heart racing. The soldiers looked around uneasily, rifles ready. One of them muttered, "Feels like it's watching us." And though no one admitted it, they all felt the same as they moved deeper. The halls grew larger, filled with strange machinery fused into the walls. The ship seemed grown rather than built, curves and angles that defied human engineering. Yet parts were damaged, ripped apart by old explosions and fire. They reached a central chamber, a massive dome where alien seats faced a dead console. Screens and crystals sat silent, but when Dr. Ward touched the nearest control, light erupted across the room. The walls shimmered with holograms of battles. Star systems burning, fleets destroyed. It was a memory, left behind by the ship itself. The images ended with one clear vision, the ship falling, crashing onto Earth, damaged and forsaken. A sense of loss filled the room, heavy, almost mournful. The aliens who built it had abandoned it, too broken to repair. But humans did not see a ruin. They saw potential. Months later, under military secrecy, the ship was dug out completely. The world above never knew the truth. Only a few chosen leaders and scientists were told. Governments fought to claim it, but eventually, a joint project was agreed. The ship would be studied, hidden in a vast underground hangar, guarded day and night. Inside the hangar, engineers worked tirelessly, sparks flying, machines roaring. They cut, scanned, measured, and rebuilt what the aliens had called broken. Humans began reforging, piece by piece. The ship resisted at first. Systems would flicker off. Corridors would seal themselves. Alarms blared without reason, yet the humans persisted. They patched cables with their own designs, replaced broken conduits with earth steel. Rewired alien engines with human logic. Weeks turned into months, and slowly the ship began to change. No longer just alien, no longer just human. It became something in between. A hybrid born of two worlds. Dr. Ward stood at the edge of the hangar one evening, watching the lights dance across the hull. "They abandoned it," he whispered. "But they didn't know us. We don't give up. Not when something this great lies in front of us." The ship seemed to listen, for as he spoke, the lights running across the hull pulsed faintly, as though acknowledging his words. The engineers nearby gasped. Some stepped back in fear, but others leaned closer. Fascinated, Captain Morgan entered, his eyes cold and sharp. "Doctor, whatever this thing is, we must remember, it's still a weapon. It's not a gift. It's a tool of war." Dr. Ward nodded, but deep inside he felt something different. The ship was not only a weapon, it was alive, wounded, and waiting for someone to heal it. One night, when the hangar was nearly empty, a young technician named Claire stayed behind. She was curious, more daring than most. She placed her bare hand on the cold hull. "You're not broken, are you?" she whispered. The lights under her palm glowed stronger, bright enough to bathe her face in blue. She laughed softly, amazed. From that night, the ship responded faster to human touch. Systems that were once dead flickered alive. Engines hummed. Faintly, weapons stirred, like a beast stretching in its sleep. The scientists could not explain it, but they all felt the truth. The ship was bonding with them. Rumors spread through the team. Some said the ship had chosen Earth as its new home. Others claimed it only pretended to obey, waiting to betray them, yet no one left. The chance to unlock its secrets was too great. Deep within the core, hidden chambers opened, revealing crystals that held strange energy. Unlike anything on Earth, these cores pulsed like hearts, supplying power even after centuries of silence. Dr. Ward realized the ship was never truly dead. It had been waiting, refusing its alien masters, but curious about its new ones. The first real test came when they connected Earth's computers directly into the alien systems. At first, the codes clashed, sparks flying, but then, as though adjusting itself, the ship rewrote the human software into something new. Faster, sharper. It was not just allowing humans inside. It was learning from them. That night, thunder rolled again over the desert. But inside the hangar, the hum of alien engines grew louder. The ship had been forsaken, buried, and forgotten by those who once owned it. But now it had new masters, stubborn and unyielding. The humans stood at the edge of a miracle or a curse. They did not yet know which, but one thing was certain. The ship was no longer silent. It was awake, and the galaxy would soon learn what that meant. The underground hangar buzzed with constant noise, sparks raining down from cranes and scaffolds as humans crawled across the alien ship's dark hull. Months had passed since its discovery, and what was once only a ruin now looked like a living project, a blend of strange technology and human persistence. Dr. Ward walked along the catwalk above the massive chamber, watching engineers attach human-built conduits into alien sockets. They did not fit at first, but with adjustments, they worked. That was humanity's strength, to make the impossible bend until it obeyed. Claire stood near the open hull plates, monitoring the energy levels on her screen. The alien crystals glowed faintly, pulsing like a slow heartbeat. Each pulse was stronger than the last. She had been the first to notice how the ship responded to touch, and now her presence seemed to calm its unpredictable systems. Captain Morgan entered the hangar with a squad of soldiers. His sharp eyes scanned every corner. "Progress?" he asked. Dr. Ward handed him a tablet filled with readings. "Energy output increasing, integration stable. Engines may be test-ready within a month." Morgan nodded, but his jaw remained tight. "And the weapons?" he asked. Ward hesitated. "Still dormant, but we believe once the core stabilizes they may awaken." Morgan's face hardened. "We must be ready, Doctor. This thing is a warship. If another species returns for it, They won't care if we're ready or not." As if hearing his words, the ground shook beneath their feet. A deep rumble echoed through the ship's body. Lights ran down its corridors like veins igniting. Engineers froze. Alarms blared. The ship's core had spiked suddenly, energy surging like a storm. Claire ran to the central console, her fingers racing across controls. "It's not breaking," she shouted. "It's stabilizing. It's waking up." The lights in the hangar flickered, then steadied, every screen filled with alien symbols, rearranging themselves into patterns that looked almost like human letters. Dr. Ward stared in awe. "It's rewriting itself for us," he whispered. The soldiers raised their rifles instinctively, but the captain lowered his hand. "Hold fire," he ordered. "Let's see what it wants." The main screen filled with a holographic projection. A star map appeared, filled with constellations unknown to Earth. Bright points glowed red, pulsing with warning. They were battlefields long past. Destroyed systems recorded in the ship's memory. At the center of the map was Earth, glowing faintly blue. Everyone in the hangar fell silent. The message was clear. The ship was showing them the galaxy and marking their world as its new anchor. From that day, progress accelerated. Engineers claimed the ship was almost helping them. Systems that once resisted now opened easily. Doors that refused to budge now unlocked with a wave of a human hand. The ship was no longer alien in its silence. It was becoming familiar, but the change drew attention. Far above, in the cold dark of space, watchers stirred. The alien race that once abandoned the ship heard whispers from their spies. The humans had touched what was not theirs. Some laughed at the thought of a primitive species tampering with godlike machines. Others, older and wiser, did not laugh on Earth. The ship's first engine test shook the desert for miles. A low roar echoed across the night as blue fire burst from vents that had not burned in centuries. The ground trembled, sand turned to glass. Scientists cheered. Soldiers looked on in awe. The ship was not only alive, it was ready to move. Claire stepped back, her eyes shining in the blue glow. "It's not just alive," she whispered. "It wants to fly again." Dr. Ward nodded slowly. "And we're going to take it where it's never been." The next step was dangerous. A pilot would have to sit inside and link with the ship. Not through machines, but through direct neural connection. The aliens who built it had fused mind and metal, and now humans had to risk the same. Captain Morgan called for volunteers. The room fell silent until Claire stepped forward. "It responds to me," she said, steady but nervous. "Let me try." Ward wanted to protest, but the captain's eyes met hers. He saw the determination. "Very well," he said, "but know this, if the ship rejects you, there may be no coming back." The chamber deep within the ship lit with pale blue light as Claire sat in the strange curved seat. Crystals above her head hummed, wires and alien roots wrapped gently around her arms. She closed her eyes, heart pounding. Then the ship reached into her mind. Her vision exploded with stars, fleets, voices she did not understand. Pain lanced through her skull, but she held on. Her breath came fast, but then the chaos softened. Symbols rearranged themselves into English, and a voice filled her thoughts. Not words, but emotions, acceptance, curiosity, a question. "Who are you?" She whispered, "I'm human." The ship pulsed in response. Energy levels across the hangar spiked but stabilized. Engineers shouted, "Connection steady." Dr. Ward's hands trembled. "She did it," he muttered. "She linked with it." Claire opened her eyes, glowing faintly with reflected blue. "It understands us," she said, "and it remembers everything." Over the next days, she trained inside the connection, guiding systems to life with thought alone. Engines roared when she willed them. Shields flickered alive. Hidden weapons hummed in slumber. The ship was no longer forsaken. It had a pilot. But the galaxy was not blind. Far away, alien commanders debated in towering halls. "Humans have claimed the forsaken vessel," one said with disgust. "Let them toy with it. They will burn themselves." Another, older, shook his head. No, they are reforging. That ship was the jewel of our fleets. If they master it, they will not be prey, they will be predators. Orders were given, fleets stirred, but distance was great, time was limited on Earth. Humanity worked faster, knowing deep down that they were not alone in the silence. Dr. Ward walked through the hangar late at night, watching as welders patched the final scars. For the first time, he felt proud rather than fearful. They abandoned you, he whispered to the hull. But we never will. We'll finish what they couldn't. The lights along the ship glowed brighter, a silent answer in the dark. The bond was no longer just machine and human. It was something deeper. One morning, as dawn broke across the desert, the hangar shook with the roar of engines. The ship rose slowly above the ground, dust whipping into a storm. Soldiers shielded their eyes. Scientists shouted in triumph, humanity's reforged Retribution was no longer bound to the earth. It was ready for the stars. And in the endless void above, enemies began to march. The ship hovered in the vast hangar, its shadow stretching across the desert floor, as if the ground itself bent to its will. Dust swirled in violent storms, engines pulsing like a second heartbeat to the planet. For the first time in history, humanity had lifted something that was not their own creation, but now it belonged to them. Claire stood at the heart of it, still wired into the command seat. Her mind pulsed with streams of information. She could feel the hum of reactors under her skin, the pressure of the shields like muscles tensing. Every sound of the ship was no longer mechanical. It was alive, and she was inside its thoughts. Dr. Ward rushed between consoles, shouting for data. Engineers scrambled to keep up. Stability. Holding, one cried. Energy flow above expected range, another said. Captain Morgan stood silent. Eyes narrowed as he watched the starship tremble with restrained power. It's not just awake, he muttered. It's eager, then. Without warning, the holographic projectors burst into life, filling the hangar with stars. Constellations unknown filled the air. Red markers burned across them, each symbol flashing like wounds. The ship was showing them battles, scars of wars long lost at the edge of the map. A red wave pushed forward, swallowing system after system. And then faintly, Earth glowed in the path. Claire gasped, her voice trembling. It's warning us, she said. The room fell silent. The ship had not just remembered its past. It foresaw what was coming. Morgan clenched his fists. So the aliens are already moving, he said coldly. Ward shook his head. Not yet, but they will. This is a memory of what destroyed it before, and a warning of what will destroy us if we fail. The tests continued. Humanity pushed deeper into the ship's systems. Each breakthrough came faster than expected. Weapons bays opened. Massive cannons revealed themselves under armored plating. Engines stabilized until they hummed like thunder, ready to break free. The scientists called it progress, but the soldiers called it preparation. Claire began to change as the days passed. She slept less, her mind half inside the ship even when she left the chair. She could sense when its systems stirred, hear whispers of codes in her dreams. At first she hid it, but one night Dr. Ward found her standing before the hull, her hands glowing faintly blue as the ship's lights pulsed in rhythm. Claire, he whispered, you need rest. She turned, her eyes tired yet blazing with determination. It doesn't rest, she said softly, and neither can I. It shows me things, places we've never seen, wars we never fought. It's teaching me, it's teaching us. Word of the ship's progress leaked beyond Earth's borders. Across the galaxy, factions whispered in disbelief. Primitive humans reforging the most feared relic of a past war. Some laughed, saying Earth would tear itself apart. Others felt a cold unease. If humans succeeded, they would not just be prey anymore. Far in deep space, an alien council gathered. Tall, elegant beings with eyes like burning silver. They spoke in sharp tones. The forsaken vessel has been awakened by primitives. One hissed, they play with power they cannot comprehend. Another voice, older and colder, replied, Power does not ask comprehension. It only asks will, and humans have will. The council split in anger. Some demanded the ship be destroyed before it could rise fully. Others hesitated, unwilling to engage a species known for surviving impossible odds. In the end, they agreed to watch, but fleets began to move quietly toward the blue planet. Back on Earth, the first live weapon test was scheduled. Soldiers gathered around the hangar. Scientists stood behind shielded glass. Claire sat once again. In the command seat, her mind merged with the vessel. "Target locked," she said quietly. The desert miles away lit with a marker. The weapon hummed, energy building until the ground shook. Then with a roar, a beam of blue fire ripped across the horizon, turning sand into glass. The shockwave rattled bones. Engineers screamed in triumph. Soldiers stared in silence. Captain Morgan's voice was steady. "Now we're dangerous," Dr. Ward whispered. "Now we're noticed." That night Claire could not sleep. The ship spoke in visions. She saw fragments of the war that had broken it. Fleets of shining alien ships clashing in seas of fire. And she felt its loneliness, centuries buried, abandoned by those who built it. She woke with tears in her eyes, whispering, "We won't abandon you. We'll fight with you." Her bond with the ship grew so strong that it began to bend toward her emotions. When she felt fear, the shields rose stronger. When she felt anger, the weapons heated. When she felt hope, the lights across its hull blazed brighter. The crew began to whisper her name not as a pilot, but as its soul, but not all trusted it. Captain Morgan called Dr. Ward into his office, slamming reports onto the table. "It's too close to her," he growled. "She's not just flying it. She's becoming part of it." Ward met his glare calmly. "Perhaps that's what it takes, Morgan. Maybe only by becoming part of it can we truly control it." The captain leaned forward, his voice a cold edge. "Or maybe it's controlling her." Despite doubts, the project continued. Humanity could not afford to stop. Satellites soon detected faint traces at the edge of the solar system. Signals moving closer. The enemy was coming. Just as the ship had warned, they had little time left. Claire stood on the hangar balcony the night the alarms confirmed it. Faint signals now clear. Alien vessels, small but advancing, scouts or hunters, it didn't matter. They were coming for what had been abandoned. "They think we're weak," she said to herself. Her hand pressed to the hull. "Let's show them we're not." The next morning, the ship rose higher than ever before. Dust storms drowned the desert. Engines thundered as though eager to break the sky. Claire's voice carried through the comms. "Prepare for flight." Captain Morgan barked orders. Soldiers strapped in. Engineers locked systems. Dr. Ward whispered a prayer. The ship tore free from the earth, rising into the clouds, then higher into the black silence of space. Stars spread out like endless oceans for the first time. Humanity's reforged Retribution sailed beyond its cradle, at the edge of the solar system. Alien scouts drew near. Their sleek ships glittered like knives, confident and sharp. But when they saw what rose to meet them, their confidence faltered. The forsaken warship had returned, reborn in human hands. Claire's eyes glowed faintly blue, her voice steady. "They abandoned you once, but we won't let them touch you again." The weapons hummed, shields burned, and the ship turned its gaze toward its first prey. The stars outside were sharp and endless as the ship cut through the void, its engines leaving a faint blue trail like fire across black glass. Inside, soldiers gripped their seats, their knuckles white. Scientists stared at screens filled with data they could barely understand. Captain Morgan stood tall at the command platform, but his eyes never left Claire. She sat deep within the neural chair, her body calm, but her mind aflame with the ship's power. Every movement of the vessel flowed through her, every spark of the engines, every pulse of the shields. She was no longer just piloting, she was breathing with it, beating with it. Her voice came through the comms, soft but steady. "They're close." The alien scouts emerged from the darkness like blades of silver. Their sleek hulls shimmered with cold light, weapons glowing faint red. They moved in a perfect formation. Silent and sure, expecting their prey to scatter. But instead, they saw the forgotten warship rising to meet them. Alive once more, Dr. Ward whispered under his breath. They won't believe it. They can't. Morgan crossed his arms, his voice harsh. Belief won't matter. Firepower will. The aliens transmitted a signal, sharp, arrogant, demanding. Surrender. The human crew listened as unknown words hissed across their radios. The ship translated on its own, filling the hangar with a cold voice. Return what is ours, and die quickly. Resist, and die slowly. Claire opened her eyes, blue light dancing across her skin. They abandoned you, she said aloud, her voice carrying like steel. They don't deserve you, the ship answered with a low rumble. Weapons warming with hunger. The first shot came from the aliens. A streak of red fire tearing across the void. It slammed into the shields, shaking the vessel but not piercing it. Soldiers grabbed their restraints. Scientists gasped. But Claire only smiled faintly. You're stronger than they remember, she whispered. The ship retaliated. A beam of blue energy cut across the stars, faster, brighter, unstoppable. One alien scout vanished in a burst of light. The others scattered, their perfect formation. Broken, Captain Morgan slammed his fist into the console. Good, now press them. The battle lit the solar edge. Weapons roared, shields screamed, explosions bloomed like dying stars. The alien scouts fought with precision, but they were not prepared for their own weapon reborn. The forsaken warship hunted them with fury, guided by human will, Claire felt. Their panic through the ship's sensors, their desperate maneuvers, their fear. For the first time in centuries, they were the hunted. She closed her eyes. The ship's systems bending under her command. Another beam tore through the void. Another scout destroyed. The last alien ship turned to flee, its engines blazing. Claire raised her hand, but Captain Morgan's voice cut through. Let it run. She opened her eyes, confused. He growled. If it runs, it carries fear back to its masters. Let them know what waits for them here. The silence after the battle was heavy. Only the hum of the engines remained. Soldiers cheered weakly. Scientists exchanged stunned looks. Dr. Ward sank into his chair, whispering, We did it. We actually did it. Claire breathed slowly, her voice trembling. This is only the beginning. When they returned to Earth, the world was not the same. The governments that once argued now saw the truth. Humanity was no longer a hidden child under the stars. They had a weapon. They had retribution. Nations united not out of trust but out of fear of being left behind. Factories burned through nights, building, reforging, preparing, inside the hangar. The ship became the heart of a new age. Engineers worked day and night, integrating alien designs into human fleets. Smaller ships began to rise, fragile compared to the great warship, but built with lessons stolen from it. The balance of the world shifted. Claire rarely left the ship. Her body grew thinner, her eyes always glowing faintly. She spoke less as herself and more as one who carried the vessel's will. Dr. Ward worried, but she dismissed his concern. I am fine, she said. It doesn't drain me. It completes me. But in the depths of space, far beyond human reach, the true masters stirred. The alien council that once laughed now stood in silence as the news arrived. A fleet destroyed, their ancient weapon reforged. The elder among them hissed. We forsook it, thinking it broken, and now it rises against U.S. Another slammed his claws against the table. Crush them before they grow bolder. But the elder shook his head. If we rush, we reveal weakness. If we wait, they grow stronger. Either path leads to war. Their decision was made in shadows. A message carried through hidden channels. Mercenaries, assassins, infiltrators were dispatched. Humanity would not be challenged only in open battle. They would be tested from within, on Earth. Sabotage began. Power lines cut, fuel stores destroyed, whispers of spies in every corner. Captain Morgan's soldiers caught strangers with alien devices. Interrogation revealed the truth. The enemy had already reached them. Dr. Ward slammed his fist against the lab table. "We don't have time for this," he growled. Claire placed a hand on the ship's console, her eyes distant. "It knows," she said softly. "It feels them too. The ship doesn't trust them either." The first assassination attempt came at night. Gunfire erupted in the hangar as shadows tried to breach the ship. Soldiers fought fiercely. Alarms wailed. Claire's scream echoed as she felt the ship surge in anger. Its lights blazed. Shields flickered alive inside the hangar, crushing the attackers in walls of raw energy. When the smoke cleared, Captain Morgan stood among the dead infiltrators, his face hard as stone. "This is only the start," he muttered. "They will come harder, they will come louder, and above them, in the vast dark of space, fleets gathered, thousands of ships, banners of alien empires shining." The elder commander raised his hand. "So be it," he hissed. "If they wish to wield our forsaken blade, then they will die by the storm we bring." Back on Earth, Claire stood inside the ship's heart. Her hand pressed to the glowing core. She closed her eyes, breathing in sync with the vessel. Her voice was steady, calm, almost serene. "They're coming," she whispered. "But this time we'll be ready." The ship pulsed an answer, a low hum like the growl of a beast waiting for prey. Humanity had reforged what others abandoned. And now, for the first time in its history, Earth stood not as prey, but as predator. The stars were no longer silent. They were watching, waiting for war. The ship rose from its hangar like a shadow tearing free from the Earth. Engines thundered. Flames curled in spirals of blue. Soldiers inside held their breath as the desert shrank beneath them. Beyond the clouds, the black ocean of space opened. Wide, dotted with silent stars, humanity's reforged weapon now faced its first real trial. Claire sat in the neural chair, her body trembling with the strain. The ship's thoughts merged with hers, its memories rushing like a flood. She saw battles that were not hers, wars long ended, but the vessel carried them still, her hands clenched against the armrests. "They're waiting," she whispered. Captain Morgan's voice cut through the comms. Hard and sharp. "Then let's meet them." The alien fleet appeared at the rim of Earth's gravity. 10 warships, sleek and bright, weapons glowing with deadly fire. They moved in flawless formation, confident in their numbers. To them, Earth was still primitive, weak, a world that should bow. But when their sensors confirmed the signature of the forgotten warship, their arrogance cracked. One alien commander hissed through his comms, "Impossible, that vessel was forsaken." Another replied coldly, "Not forsaken, stolen, we will take it back." Their cannons charged, lines of red fire crossing the void. The battle had begun. The first blast shook the reforged ship. Shields screamed but held. Sparks rained from consoles. Soldiers cried out but steadied. Claire closed her eyes, feeling the ship's anger. She pressed her mind deeper. The cannons hummed, then roared. A beam of raw energy split the darkness. One alien vessel was ripped apart, burning into fragments that spun into silence. The humans cheered, but Morgan's face stayed grim. "Don't celebrate yet. They'll hit harder," the aliens swarmed. Red fire filling the void like a storm of arrows. The ship weaved between blasts, shields flashing blue, cannons answering with fury. Each shot from the humans carried a weight centuries old. Vengeance reforged. Dr. Ward clung to his seat, his voice strained. Energy levels spiking. "The ship is pushing itself beyond design." Engineers shouted back. "She's holding it steady, she's controlling it." But they all knew Claire's body was only flesh, and flesh had limits. 3 alien ships circled to flank. Their cannons locked on. Morgan barked, "Brace!" Claire's breath caught. Then the ship acted not by command but instinct. Hull panels shifted, revealing weapons no human had touched. Blue lances of energy burst outward, slicing 2 ships in seconds. The last turned to flee, but was crushed. Under the warship's wrath, the crew sat in stunned silence. It used systems we never activated. Ward whispered. Claire's voice trembled. It's remembering how to fight, but victory came at a cost. Claire slumped in her chair. Her skin pale, veins faintly glowing blue. Dr. Ward rushed forward. "Disconnect her," he shouted. But she raised a weak hand. "No. Don't. It needs me. It listens only through me." Morgan's jaw tightened. "If it kills you, we lose both you and it." Her eyes opened slowly, fire burning within. "If I leave, it will sleep again. We can't afford that." The alien. Survivors limped back into the void, carrying word of what they had faced. Humanity had not only awakened the forsaken vessel, they had reforged it, stronger, stranger, bound to human will. Across the galaxy, disbelief turned to fear, councils argued, empires shouted, and fleets began to gather. On Earth, the world changed. Nations no longer fought each other. Factories united. Ships built faster than ever before. Every resource poured into preparation. The reforged vessel became the heart of a rising fleet. Humanity had never stood so united, but unity was born of fear. Claire recovered slowly, but her connection deepened. She no longer needed wires or crystals. The ship responded to her voice, her thought, her very heartbeat. At night, she dreamed not of herself but of the vessel, walking its endless halls, speaking with echoes of voices long dead. Dr. Ward watched her with worry, Captain Morgan with suspicion, yet both knew they could not sever her. She was the key, but the enemy would not wait. Scouts reported movement on the edge of the system, hundreds of signatures, fleets marching. Dr. Ward slammed his fist against the console. "We're not ready, they'll crush us." Morgan's eyes narrowed. "Then we strike first." The plan was reckless. Humanity would take the fight into the void before the enemy could reach Earth. The reforged warship would lead, smaller human vessels following, fragile but burning with new power. The crew prepared. In silence, knowing they might not return, Claire stood at the core, her hand pressed against the glowing heart of the ship. "They thought you broken," she whispered. "But together, we're stronger than they ever imagined." The ship pulsed. In answer, a low hum like a beast eager for blood. When the fleet launched, Earth watched from below. Families gathered under skies streaked with fire. Children pointed as ships rose like arrows toward the stars. Humanity's fate leaving its cradle soldiers. Strapped into steel coffins, engineers monitored fragile systems, and at the center of it all, Claire and her living vessel burned forward into the dark. The enemy fleet appeared ahead, vast and endless, ships blotting out the stars. Their weapons glowed like suns, their engines thundered across the void. The alien commander sneered, "Primitive thieves, you think to face us? You will break as your world will break." Claire's voice cut across the comms, calm and sharp. "You broke this ship once, but you never broke us. You will learn what humans do with what you abandon." The cannons roared in answer, and the second great battle began. The void lit with fury, beams slashed, shields screamed. Explosions bloomed like fireflowers. Human ships weaved desperately, fragile against the storm. But the reforged vessel tore through the enemy ranks like a blade. Through cloth. Each shot burned holes into their formation. Each strike carried human defiance. Claire felt the strain tearing at her, blood running from her nose. Her body shook, but the ship supported her, pushing her deeper. Its voice thundered in her mind. Not words but intent. "Fight with me," she gasped. Always. The battle stretched for hours. Bodies and metal drifted in endless night. Human ships fell one by one, but so did the enemy. Their arrogance shattered against human will. Finally, the alien commander realized the truth. "They are not breaking," he hissed. "They are rising." The reforged ship's cannons gathered energy for one final strike. Claire screamed as the power surged through her. The beam tore across the enemy flagship, splitting it in two. Fire, consuming its heart. The remaining vessels scattered. Retreating into the black, silence fell, broken only by the hiss of dying fires. Humanity had stood against a storm meant to erase them, and they had not fallen. But as the crew cheered weakly, Captain Morgan stood in silence, staring into the void where the enemy had fled. His voice was low, almost grim. This was only their first wave. The real war hasn't even begun. Claire opened her eyes, faintly glowing. Her body shaking but her spirit unbroken. She whispered, "Then let them come." The void was littered with wreckage. Twisted metal drifting in silence. Faint sparks of fire fading into the black. The Reforged warship floated at the heart of it all, its hull scarred, its shields flickering. But still alive, human crews cheered. Through static-filled coms, their voices filled with disbelief and triumph. They had faced the impossible and survived. Claire sat slumped in the neural chair, her breathing shallow. Sweat glistened on her forehead as the ship's glow faded. Around her, Dr. Ward rushed to her side, gripping her shoulder. "Claire, you need to disconnect. You can't keep pushing yourself like this." Her lips curved faintly into a tired smile. "It's fine, it knows what I can handle." Captain Morgan stood at the command platform, his jaw tight. "She's going to burn herself out, Doctor, and when she does, this whole thing falls with her." Claire lifted her head weakly, her voice steady though faint. "I'm not burning out. I'm becoming more. It needs me as much as I need it." The ship pulsed faintly in agreement, its lights responding to her words. The crew fell silent, none willing to argue against what they had just witnessed. But victory was only a shadow against what loomed ahead, at the edge of the system. Probes reported massive energy readings, fleets larger than anything humanity had faced. The Empire was not broken, it was enraged. And now it was coming with its full strength. Back on Earth, chaos erupted. Governments demanded plans, civilians panicked, military leaders argued in circles. Some shouted for retreat, others for surrender. But Captain Morgan silenced them with a voice like steel. "There is no surrender. They will not forgive us. They will not leave us alive. We either fight as one, or we all fall." Factories thundered day and night. Earth's skies burned with fire as ships rose into orbit. Fragile compared to the Reforged warship, but carrying fragments of its power. Humanity's first true fleet was born in fear and fire. Small destroyers, heavy carriers, and countless drones forged from desperation. All of them rallied under one banner, Earth united as it never had before. Claire remained within the warship, her body frail but her spirit unyielding. She spoke less with words and more with silence, the ship echoing her will. At night, she dreamed of stars and fire, of battles that had never been hers but now belonged to her. Dr. Ward grew fearful, whispering to Morgan, "She's slipping. I don't know how much of her is still Claire." Morgan's eyes darkened. "Maybe that's what we need. Maybe she has to be more than human to save the rest of us." The enemy fleet entered the system weeks later. Their arrival was like a storm. Thousands of ships blotting out the stars. Engines roared, weapons glowed red. The Empire had come not just to destroy the warship, but to erase Earth itself. At the heart of their fleet was a flagship so vast it dwarfed cities. A titan of steel and fury, human fleets gathered near Jupiter. The Reforged warship leading them like a shepherd before wolves, pilots strapped into fragile fighters. Soldiers clutched weapons with trembling hands, civilians who had never known. War prayed in silence as the world held its breath. Claire's voice carried through the coms, calm and steady despite her weakness. "They think we're broken, but we've reforged ourselves. Today we show them what that means." The warship pulsed in answer, blue light spreading across its hull like fire waking in the dark. The fleets collided at the edge of the gas giant. The void exploded in chaos. Beams of energy ripped through the black. Shields screamed. Explosions bloomed like dying suns. Human ships weaved desperately, smaller and weaker. But their resolve carried them into the storm. The warship cut a path through the enemy lines, its cannons roaring, each strike tearing massive vessels apart. Claire felt every shot in her bones, the ship's fury burning through her veins. She gasped with each surge, her eyes glowing brighter, her voice trembled. "It's not fighting for itself anymore. It's fighting for us. Dr. Ward gripped his console, his knuckles white. Hold on, Claire. Don't let it consume you. The alien flagship advanced, its weapons unleashing waves of red fire. Dozens of human ships were torn apart in seconds. Soldiers screamed through comms before static silenced them. Captain Morgan's face hardened. That's the beast. If we don't kill it, Earth dies. Claire pressed deeper into the bond, her body shaking violently. Then we kill it. The warship's core burned hotter, energy levels surging beyond safety. Engineers shouted warnings. It can't hold, it's going to tear itself apart. But Claire's voice cut through, fierce and unrelenting. Then let it, as long as we take them with us. The ship roared, cannons unleashing a storm of blue fire that split the battlefield in half. Dozens of enemy vessels crumbled in blazing silence. The alien flagship retaliated, a weapon larger than anything seen before. A crimson beam cut across the void, striking the warship's shields. The ship screamed, metal cracking, shields breaking. Claire arched back in her chair, blood running from her nose. She cried out, but her hands held firm, her voice a whisper through the agony. Not again, never again, the ship responded, its core pulsing brighter than a star. Shields flared back alive, bending, twisting, reshaping, absorbing the attack. The crimson beam shattered, scattering into nothing. Silence followed. The Empire's greatest weapon had been broken by a vessel they once forsook. The crew erupted in disbelief. Soldiers shouted in triumph. Dr. Ward fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. She did it, he whispered. She actually did it. But Claire did not celebrate. Her eyes glowed brighter still, her body trembling. She whispered through clenched teeth. Not finished. The warship surged forward, tearing through the broken enemy lines. Blue fire consumed ship after ship, until finally, it stood before the enemy flagship, towering and vast. The two vessels stared across the void like beasts locked in challenge. Morgan's voice was a growl. End it, Claire screamed as the warship poured everything into one final strike. The beam cut through the flagship's heart, splitting it open, fire erupting in waves that consumed everything around it. The shockwave tore across the battlefield, scattering fleets. The enemy broke. Ships turning in panic, retreating into the black. Humanity stood victorious, their reforged warship burning bright against the darkness. But victory came with silence. Claire slumped in her chair, her breathing faint. Dr. Ward rushed forward, shouting her name. The ship's lights pulsed weakly, as though mourning with him. Her lips moved faintly, her whisper barely audible. It's not over. They'll come again, stronger. But so will we. Her eyes closed, and the ship's glow dimmed with her. Earth erupted in celebration when the battle was won. Cities wept with relief. Children cheered under skies streaked with the trails of returning ships. Humanity had faced annihilation and endured. The reforged warship had become more than steel, more than alien. It was a symbol, a promise. But far in the dark, other empires had watched. Older, colder, waiting. The galaxy now knew the truth. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was rising. And the vessel once forsaken had become the sword of a new age. The reforged warship drifted in silence, its hull scarred but blazing with faint blue light. Around it floated the wreckage of alien ships. Twisted metal, broken bodies, fragments of pride shattered across the void. Humanity had won the battle. But victory felt like a pause, not an end. The crew knew the enemy was not finished. Claire sat weak in the neural chair, sweat dripping down her pale face. Her eyes glowed faintly blue. But exhaustion pulled at her body. Dr. Ward leaned over her, his voice soft but urgent. You need rest, Claire. If you push again, it could kill you. She gave a faint smile, her voice steady despite her weakness. It won't let me rest. Not yet. It shows me what's coming. Her words proved true. For in the distance, beyond human sensors, the true fleet stirred. The empire that had abandoned the ship centuries ago now gathered its full strength. Not scouts, not fragments, but legions. Thousands of vessels burned with rage. At their center rose a colossal flagship, a moving fortress, larger than anything humanity had ever seen on Earth. The leaders argued in underground chambers. Some demanded retreat, to hide behind their planet's defenses. Others cried for surrender. But Captain Morgan silenced them with words cold as steel. We fight, not because we can win easily, but because surrender means extinction. They will never forgive us for reforging their weapon. They will never let us live, so we fight. Factories thundered through the nights. Human fleets grew larger, still fragile compared to the enemy, but burning with determination. Civilians volunteered. Pilots trained in weeks what once took years. Humanity was no longer a scattered people under one sky. They were united by survival. The Reforged warship became their heart. Every soldier who stepped aboard felt the weight of history. They touched its walls as if touching the hand of a guardian. They whispered oaths, not to their nations, but to humanity itself. Claire felt their voices through the ship. Each vow strengthened the bond. Each hope added to its fire. But whispers grew darker too. Some feared Claire's bond was no longer human, that she was becoming something else. Dr. Ward defended her. She is still Claire, he said, but she is also the bridge between us and it. Without her, the ship is only steel. Captain Morgan said nothing, but his eyes often lingered on her with unease. The day of reckoning came without warning. Alarms screamed across Earth's orbit. Satellites caught the first images. A fleet, so vast it blotted out stars. The enemy had arrived. Humanity had no choice left. They would either rise or vanish inside the warship. Claire felt the enemy before sensors confirmed them. Her chest tightened, her vision filled with fire. She whispered, "They're here." The ship pulsed under her, eager, waiting. Morgan's voice thundered across comms. "All units, prepare. This is the war for our species." The fleets clashed at the edge of the system, the void lit with fire. Explosions painted the black and red and blue. Human ships fought like wolves against lions, small but fierce. They darted between massive alien vessels, striking with precision, sacrificing themselves to protect the reforged heart, the enemy. Flagship advanced slowly, its weapons tearing human fleets apart like paper. Morgan growled, "That's the beast we must kill." Ward shook his head, fear in his voice. "It's too strong. Even with this ship, we can't match that." Claire's eyes opened wide, glowing brighter. "We don't need to match it, we need to break it where it thinks it cannot be broken." She pressed deeper into the neural bond. The ship screamed as if alive, lights blazed. Weapons that had never been touched roared awake. Blue fire erupted across the void, tearing holes through enemy lines. Humanity's reforged Retribution fought like a god of vengeance. Each strike carried centuries of silence now unleashed in fury. The enemy faltered, commanders hissing in disbelief. Impossible. The forsaken vessel was ours. How can primitives wield it so? But disbelief could not shield them. One by one, their ships burned. The alien flagship opened its core, releasing a weapon that dwarfed all others. A beam of red fire stretched like a sun's spear. Striking the warship, shields screamed, hull cracked, soldiers screamed as sparks rained down. Claire's body arched in pain. The bond searing her veins, Ward cried out. "She can't take this," Morgan barked. "She has to." Claire saw the beam tearing into them. She felt the ship's agony, the memory of when it had fallen before, but this time. She whispered through gritted teeth, "Not again, not this time." The ship roared. Its shield surged brighter, fueled not by alien tech alone, but by human will. The beam cracked, split, and scattered into nothing. The enemy flagship reeled. Stunned, for the first time in centuries, it felt resistance. Claire seized the moment. "Now," she screamed. The warship's cannons gathered everything left, blue fire building until the void itself trembled. With one final cry, the beam erupted. It cut straight into the alien flagship, tearing through armor, ripping into its heart. The giant cracked apart, flames consuming its core. The shockwave rippled through space. Enemy fleets broke, their courage. Shattered, ships turned, retreating into the endless dark. Humanity had done what none believed possible. They had taken the weapon Forsaken, and used it to shatter the pride of an empire. The battlefield fell silent. Wreckage drifted like frozen. Tears across the stars. Human survivors cried, shouted, clung to each other. Captain Morgan stood silent, his chest heavy with both victory and loss. Dr. Ward collapsed into a chair, whispering, "We survived, by God, we survived." Claire slumped in the neural chair, her breathing shallow, her body weak, veins still. Glowing faintly blue, she whispered with a faint smile, "It's over, we're free." The ship's lights pulsed gently, as though in agreement, for the first time. It felt peace on Earth. When news spread, the world erupted, cities wept, strangers embraced. Humanity knew now that it was no longer prey. They had stood against the storm and endured. But in the silence of deep space, far beyond even the broken empire, others watched, older empires, hidden powers. They had seen humanity rise with what was abandoned, and in their councils, whispers began. If they can reforge what we forsake, what else will they do? Back on Earth, Claire walked slowly across the hangar, soldiers saluting as she passed. She placed her hand on the hull, the metal warm beneath her touch. "You were broken," she whispered. "But so were we, and together we became whole." Again, the ship pulsed softly in return, not as a weapon, not as a tool, but as a companion. Humanity had reforged Retribution, but in doing so, they had reforged themselves, and the stars no longer seemed so far.